Hello out there. I'm the oldest nerd. It's time once again for Talking Movies with Professor O. Professor O, of course, joins us from his study, and I join you from my study. So we hope that you'll stick with us as we have a more difficult review than we've tried to do in the past. We're taking three movies at a time, and let me just say that it was my own stupid idea to do this. So we may
But
or
I
may
latched
not.
on quickly. I just
You did, but I appreciate that. You certainly helped me in my mental health here. But we're looking to talk about um, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. And these were all written by Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright. And Edgar Wright was the director of all of these pictures. And they are called the Cornetta Trilogy because in each of them there is a flavor of ice cream in a cornet. It's like an ice cream cone. It's one of these British things that you never see around here. And so basically everything from the ice cream that they have during the picture has something to do with the theme of the picture as it is. And while we like to talk about in these films references to other films, it seems like these films were made for nothing other than to make references to other films, and there are thousands of them. If you, in the case of Shaun of the Dead, even the title is based on Dawn of the Dead, and the idea behind it is that what would happen if there was a zombie apocalypse, and instead of like in most of the zombie apocalypse films, instead of one hero coming up to fight them, you have one completely clueless guy that walks through it and doesn't even notice it for most of the picture. And and so it is it's a romantic comedy. It is a zombie picture. It's a comedy, so they call it a rom zom com.
aha. That's a great. I wonder if they came up with that. Yeah, they probably did and one of
Yeah.
the first of that kind of genre bending thing. I'm sure there were others, but that bent genres that way. But oh, it just a incredible job of genre bending humor, and right. Apparently, uh, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright came up with they're working on the this TV show sounds great.
Yeah.
Spaced sounds fantastic. They,
Yes.
they were working on that and started talking about George Romero films, and then they just went off and started writing this thing, and it is just right. And it also, I love the way there's some comments. Like there's a really good article that we were looking at based on the idea of the authorship of Edgar Wright, and improving. Is he a true auteur? Is he an author of a director,
Yes.
that kind of director? And I love the way you can see it in just it's in the way he the small scenes. Visually, one of the things, everybody's such a zombie at their work. You've got the
Yeah.
zombie checkout people and the zombie people sloughing their way to work. How many things we're kind of reflecting how many ways that we're a zombie. And one thing, this article, and it was actually an honors thesis by a student named Vreeland in his honors thesis. And one of the better articles that there was out there on him that you could just get on Google Scholar. And so he really, was talking about just seeing the way the credits are done in the film, kind of is a hallmark of Edgar Wright's. Kind of got a signature hallmark for his credits. And I love the
Yes.
way the zombies shuffle across the title Shaun of the Dead in the film. And then he gets into music and musical cue. There's so many references, it's unbelievable. But yeah, and that all ties into what you said. He hardly notices there's a zombie attack. And I love the way Edgar Wright uses repetitive stuff. There's the first trip to the little store, but then the second trip to the little store where he trips on everything. The kid hits him with the ball. Simon Pegg, goes out of his house. He's trying to get something, a little bit of food to go to work with. Does the same thing every day. Trips over the same step where the guy's working on the car every day. all those are kind of those are it's so neat when a film does that. But here, the second time around, right, he doesn't notice the zombie apocalypse has occurred, and he misses that for a long time.
Yes.
He doesn't catch it for a long time.
Well, they have the thing where they're running the dial on the television, and each channel has completes the thought of what was on the other, and saying there is a zombie apocalypse right now, and it's and we're all going to die, and it's funny that they're looking for the game. They don't care about what the news is, and that's another thing that I think. Pegg and Wright wanted to point out that most people aren't so tuned in to what's in the news. Most people aren't so tuned in to what's going on in their local communities. They just go to work and they come back. And yeah, if a zombie apocalypse happened, they'd have to learn about it later. And
That's
so
exact.
and so that's
Yeah.
that's a situation that they find themselves in this picture. But one of the things that struck me about this picture, also with Hot Fuzz and World's End, is that they had a certain language, shall we say. All they had what they called. I took this from your article because I didn't know what to call this stuff, but I noticed it. The crash zooms, the and I can't read my own.
Was it like a flat a
Oh
crash
yeah,
zoom?
crash zooms, whip pans, and
Right.
close-ups in action sequences, and that's something that you don't see in most films. And it made it interesting. They put in sound effects too, so when it was whip panning, went and all of this kind of stuff, where previously in any kind of film, whenever they change scenes, it's usually very subtle. It fades to black and then comes up somewhere else. It's enough of an indication to the viewer that we're going to a different place, or we're going to a flashback, or we're going to something like this. And in this case, they don't waste any time doing that and just put it right in front of you.
Right.
We're snapping from here to there, almost like a jump cut, but a
That's
stylized
right.
jump cut.
That's well put. It's a stylized jump cut, and Edgar Wright tends to use that style often enough that you really could sit, you could identify it in watch another Edgar Wright film besides this trilogy. Say if you started here, then you could watch another Edgar Wright film, and you'd probably realize I'm watching an Edgar Wright film, even if you
Yeah,
didn't know because of some of these the style. And he does them in such a good way. You do not get confused as a viewer like just that little trek to the store. You don't get confused. You see some of the same shots, and yet you see those shots for less than a second, and they
yeah,
go so fast. Yeah, they go so fast. And whip pans, you never get confused. It's just an amazing, and the amount of work that goes into that is phenomenal.
no
That's
doubt. I mean, they picked up that style in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They would say something, this absolutely can't happen, and they'd snap to another scene where that was actually happening. And
happening.
so I mean, that was it keeps your attention, and makes the pacing seem faster than it really is, which is very impressive to me on how they were able to do that.
And he
Another,
never assumes you are not bright or stupid as a viewer. He never assumes that there's some sort of low bar that he's got to hit. I mean, just you think of all the information he knows you are that viewers of his films are packing in that information. They're thinking, they're making connections. The synapses are going, and because I mean, I love the way you mentioned the clips of all the anchors put together and some of the words they're saying. And at the very end, after the apocalypse, because there's good news with this apocalypse, it kind of ends. It doesn't end as a George Romero film. It ends with the authorities taking control again,
yeah,
and you get back to that same announcer we were watching talking about the words he was using. I can't believe I was using these words on the air to describe the apocalypse. I can't remember the words exactly, but
yeah.
that 2 hours later, you are remembering that same announcer, and it just works. All that follow up stuff absolutely works. It just One article, yeah, talked about how yeah, that and yeah, we talked Chekhov's gun, of course, the classic
Yeah.
Russian
And I didn't know
playwright.
that until I was looking that up, that it's called Plant and Payoff.
Plant and payoff. You plant an
And
idea, yeah,
and they
it's got
did
to pay
that
off.
in every frame of these films, of all three of these films. It was hard to keep up with where they planted something and then grabbed it later.
Yeah,
When you go to World's End, all the names of the pubs had something to do with what was going to happen in them.
I, I didn't. Yeah, 90% of that he's relying, knowing he's knowing his audience is gonna go back and lovingly rewatch these films.
Yes,
Can you do what were so the World's End, the
World's
third
End. Of
of the
course, the world
trilogy?
comes to an end. The first one was oh gosh, I have that in the
Well, you're
in the trivia stuff. But the yeah, but they did do that. They named all of that in. Why can't I get this to work? Here we go.
does
But there's one, Crossed Hands, where they get into a gang fight.
ah
That's another one.
right.
And there is the
Oh,
oh
they're great
gosh,
names. Yeah.
they really are, and all of them have something of that sort. Um,
Where and that is it prefigures what's going to come up in the movie with
yes. Oh, here we
with
go. Here we go. Let's see. The famous cock is where is the first one that they go through, which shows our main character is kind of difficult.
yes.
They fight at the they fight at the cross hand, the good companion. They
Ah,
have the camaraderie at let's see, the trusted servant. They meet the drug dealer. The two-headed dog. There's the twins,
ah,
and beautiful women tempt them at the mermaid. They fight off swarms of enemies at the beehive,
oh my goodness. That's
and so
so
all of
well.
that's in there.
Yeah, that's it's funny that the troubled friend, the friend and I know we're going to get back to Shaun of the Dead, but just while it's on our mind, because if there's one for at our age as being the oldest nerds, if there's if there's one thing that can happen to us, and even as I'm saying this thought, I'm trying to hold on to the primary thought, is that you have a thought and you lose track of that thought because you go sideways with another thought. So just to keep us on this one thought, which thank goodness I remembered, the thought you mentioned of a friend like that, the troubled friend. And certainly Simon Pegg, looking at this last film, is a troubled friend. It's
Yes,
like you kind of want to like him, and yet he is kind of like the guy that was the leader of the gang, almost so invested he kind of had a jerk side of him, and yet he also was the leader of the gang, and you guys did some fun stuff together
he
that
was,
made
and
it
his
worthwhile.
name indicated it. His name was Gary King, and then
Right.
his best friend was Knightley, and they were all basically references to uh, titled or royalty.
That's
And
fascinating.
that's in World's End. Now in Hot Fuzz, virtually everybody in town was named after a occupation, like Cartwright,
Ah,
so a cart maker, and all of them had something that was related to a job or an occupation.
because if you look at that, and we'll get back to World's End, but if you look at it like a trilogy of here you are, you're kind of clueless, emerging from your 20s, trying to figure out who you are. I love that scene in Shaun of the Dead where Simon Pegg mentions that, I'm not old, I'm 29, and he's trying to still, but yet with a 17-year-old, a savvy 17-year-old, he's two generations removed, but
Yeah,
he's still trying to stay relevant, and then you find that occupation in life. Your ego takes over. You find that occupation, and you got to do that job, and like they do with all the occupations in Hot Fuzz. And
yeah,
then you hit your late 30s, your 40s, or you can even extrapolate that on it to retirement and 50s, and you're thinking, what did I do? What did it all mean? And so you could see those group of friends kind of figuring out, looking nostalgically at the past. Was it worth it? We've changed. Did we change for the better? We got this friend to contrast that against. He hasn't changed. Maybe he needs a, obviously he's been through some stuff. And at some point you kind of like Gary King, and some point you go realize, and then you point, no, Gary, you got to grow up. You've got, and
Yeah,
that is an interesting movie. And there's all sorts of shades of gray in that film. I mean,
there is,
in terms
and
of who
Simon
you
Pegg
should be.
indicated that he wrote that basically as kind of a therapeutically, because he had been going through some alcohol problems at that time, and so he wrote this to kind of point out his journey
Wow.
into
Yeah, it's a
sobriety.
journey. That's exact.
Yeah,
I know this is just going to be just it. There's so many cuts that happen so fast. I'm just going to double confirm this. I've seen Hot Fuzz a couple of times, but World's End, first time to see that. I really enjoyed that.
yeah,
Um, Obviously Gary had tried to kill himself at one point.
yeah,
He's been released from the hospital, and that was that little group we see at the beginning is the therapy he's going through.
yeah.
But wow, that's a fascinating film. And so underneath all this fun stuff and references, and there's musical tributes all over the place, not just visual ones, but there's some
But the
deep
music
stuff going
ties
on.
into the plot as well, to the point to where in certain parts they're even using song lyrics to express themselves, and whether it's supposed to be quoting song lyrics in universe or not, I'm not certain, but certainly someone who is well versed in music could in
Oh,
popular music could kind of follow what they were doing, and it's just everywhere. It's almost as if they said, let's see how many references, how many Chekhov's guns, how many ironic names that we can put all in one place. And
right.
these films are just chock full of it, to the point to where I absolutely had to step away yesterday from it because it was hurting. I was getting
It was
so many different references. I'm thinking, I'll never be able to keep this straight. We'll never be able to talk about it, and nobody will retain it after we've told them that.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly
so what you have to say is that what would happen if you had a film made by a film buff? And I think
right.
that's what we have here.
Oh, 100%. And like Quentin Tarantino, who's in one of the, no, definitely. No, he's not in the film.
They certainly give credit to him here and there.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, and fortunately, amazingly enough, I was just once in a while. I know you do the same thing. We've got our movies to watch every week, and sometimes I'll think I'm going to work in one other film that from the past that I'd never seen Point Break. I really
Huh.
like the director of Point Break, and her name will come to me. But anyway, really good director, and so I thought, yeah, I'm going to watch Point Break, and then there it is. Speaking of these references all over, and in this case, it was such a meaningful reference
Yeah.
where, and Keanu Reeves, just I was thinking what I need. Reason I got into that, I was thinking what I could use in that '90s music. I could use like a Matrix download where Neo gets that download, and all of a sudden you're familiar with all that '90s music. But the
Yes.
truth is, you actually have to listen to it one by one, and there's probably some, and go back and so it does make you want to go back and listen to some of the music is awesome. That's
It's absolutely.
but
So
yeah, that Point Break reference is awesome. And then, sure enough, Chekhov's gun, it comes up in real life where the son, where the Frost character, he's not going to shoot his dad, and,
yeah,
and shoots the gun in the air. Just incredible.
it's very true. It's very true. And I think the other thing that needs to be pointed out, that despite all of these references, all of these devices, all of these visual cues, the story itself holds up as a serious story. which
Yes,
is
it
hard to
does.
do in a comedy genre type film, right?
Right. You can have parodies that are just a slavish parody that just falls apart, and they're not even funny, like some of the scary movie films. And some of them may be good, but
Yeah,
reports may vary. There's and so that's one thing that article was mentioning, that this is a parody, but it's also a tribute, an homage, and just
yeah,
like Young Frankenstein was. I mean, it's going back and being a parody, but it's not just mindlessly making fun of these films.
yeah,
It's a tribute to the past in these films and the filmmakers themselves. Those close-ups that you were talking about from those intense westerns with Charles Bronson and Clint Eastwood.
right. The
Uh,
spaghetti westerns are
yeah,
very much uh, referenced in Hot Fuzz to the point to where he's riding a horse.
yeah. That's what. Which is just. Was there a reason for that, or
No,
anything? No. And of course, we come back. We have an empty. So many things. Just you've got this absolutely empty-headed village, empty mind, almost empty. Again, the only spirit was to keep any people that are like other or strange, like gypsies, keep them out.
yeah,
Kill them. I mean, that was the main rule. That was the main job of the village. I mean, so of course the in a good working, um, active police station that's actually trying to solve crimes, the evidence room will be full of stuff,
yeah,
but it's completely empty. And I mean, so many details. And of course, you mentioned how all these things weave together. It goes back to the evidence room to get all the guns, and, yeah, and somewhere gets a white horse. And just
that's it.
yeah,
And yeah, the town itself is one of these that are kind of frozen in time. They
right,
have one of them in a Queen Victoria era uniform because that's the way it was, and that's the way it still is.
right. the yeah, and the apparently there's actually little models of a lot of that's a thing with British villages, is that they're actually models out the model village, where somebody went to the trouble of making a model of the village. Why would you do that? That's if you did with Beaumont, if you did with a certain city in southeast Texas, you might want to reference a beautiful theater and make put that into your model. But there'd be lots of some of these towns in southeast Texas, there'd be refineries. But yeah, a model. That's the model village, which they destroy.
The films themselves were fairly successful. I think that the Shaun of the Dead was made for like £4 million and made 30,000. I mean 30 million, 4 million, 30 million. Um, Big success.
Right.
Hot Fuzz had a slightly larger budget, still made its money. Shaun of the Dead probably it had like a $30 million budget and made maybe 50 million. It wasn't a huge success like it before, and I think part of the problem with that was that at the point of World's End, it seems to fall apart and go into something completely bizarre that while the story seemed to be about a pub crawl, it turns into a end of the world science fiction monster movie,
Yeah.
and it probably was difficult for some people to wrap their minds around. And I was delighted, of course, because I thought, well, what's this movie going to end up being? And it's almost like a Monty Python sketch where they decide, near the end of it, just to do something completely silly.
That's a good point. That is, and they really get silly with that second or third ending of the film. I was, whoa, 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 time out. That's these, that's right. That's right. You know what I'm thinking? No, that's I'm keeping the
Yeah,
movies in
it
order.
ends.
Yeah,
It
you're
ends
right.
with I think Nick Frost sitting in a field telling the story.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And as Simon Pegg has wandered off with his younger troupe of younger troupe of musicians, and that was a definitely Monty Python esque
yeah,
into the whole thing. That's exactly right. But yeah, but somewhere, and it's got so many moving parts. Actually, the friendship, and you're thinking of the nostalgia and that one friend that you might have had like that. Whatever happened to that guy? And that guy is still trying to relive that nostalgia, and there's some value to that, but then there's value to moving on. But then it really does make you think, what have we moved on to?
yeah,
Where are we going with our lives? So and then yeah, stuffed in the middle of that is like an invasion of the body snatchers with the and you learned what a pronoun is. uh I love when they're trying to figure out, what do you call a the different versions, because there's the blue robots that are pure aliens, and then
yeah,
there's the ones that have humans that have become kind of like robotized, and so they are trying to distinguish between them and or it and it. And they point out what a pronoun is. And I thought to myself, I really need to learn this once and for all, because I got lost with gerunds, and that sounds like something you might run into them in The Hobbit,
yeah, yeah.
or in Hobbiton.
Which of course Martin Freeman was in, and in this film as well. So, we mentioned David Bradley was in Doctor Who, and also the Harry Potter. And
Yes.
there's so many people who have been in this film that have been in so many other TV and film projects. One that comes to mind, if I can find him real quick, is Bill Nighy,
Yes, in all
who's in
three.
all three films.
Right.
He's also well known for playing the part of the fellow who falls in love with Judi Dench in the the hotel,
Oh,
the
the Marigold Hotel.
most excellent Marigold Hotel. Had to get all the words in,
Right.
and he was the player who leaves his wife, who's also in this. That was oh gosh,
That wasn't Olivia Colman.
no, Olivia Colman was in that too, but in this case, oh gosh, she was the same person that played the prime minister
Oh,
in Doctor Who.
in Doctor Who, right? Exactly, and it ended up being a prime minister. And yeah, oh, she was, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
she played the wife of this, very much against the character that she'd already been. She was
that's exactly.
but I mean, there is a group of British actors. My daughter jokingly says that there are only 12 actors in Britain, and they appear in every TV and radio TV, radio, and movie project that they do over there,
Oh my
and
God, yeah.
almost works here in these three films. You were talking about colors though, and I wanted to say something about colors. They call this the Cornetto Trilogy, and the
Right.
Cornetto is an ice cream treat that you can get in Britain, and the flavors of them had to do with the stories.
Ah,
You had blue in Shaun of the Dead, by the same way that the names were excuse me, they're green in Shaun of the Dead, where excuse me, I'm wrong, in World's End. There's
ah,
green in that because green indicates aliens.
right. Totally. Yeah.
There's blue in
Hot Fuzz.
there's red in Shaun of the Dead,
Okay. Blood.
and yeah, and then there's blue in Hot Fuzz because of the police uniforms, and
Cops
so
and
that
lights and yeah.
right, and so the colors of the ice cream that's featured in all of these are also references to it. It's why it's so hard to keep all together. It's because there's just everything ties into something else. Everything is Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, and including the I just thought of one with it because we hadn't talked about the worlds in there, but the alien, this piece of modern art that's in the middle of the village, and you're going, oh, that's strange, and then sure enough, it comes alive, and it's a
Yes.
centerpiece of the alien control, going after him, and that's
Right.
one thing that got me at the end of World's End, and I don't know how much, obviously we're looking at buddy cop genre films and Western films and uh, George Romero films. But I wonder if there's just a bit of Star Trek because is it that I was trying to remember who actually talks down. It's like Kirk talking down another computer. If you look at the aliens being so
Yeah.
logical, they almost feel like a computer. Then it's Simon Pegg's character talking down the M5,
Yeah.
talking it into just leaving, and I just love that. That's
Yeah.
felt a little like a little Star Trek reference there, but that one's more hidden than the other ones, if that is a Star Trek reference. But I loved it. That's
Yeah. And of course, Simon Pegg was in Star Trek too,
right.
the reboot film as Scotty, and all three of the reboot films as Scotty.
That's right. And just dawning on me, he would have been. I was thinking that he didn't do Scotty until after The World's End. No, he was completely writing as Scotty by '09,
Yeah.
embodying that character and helping with the script by '09. And I think The World's End comes out in 2013, something like that. 20,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
2013.
So he would have been. Oh God, he would have been absolutely doing that by that time. But it just so many fun references, and yet they all add up. And like you mentioned, there's a good story everywhere there. Every one of them has a great story. The conspiracy story in and I was thinking of, with my shirt, I was thinking of the third movie with a little bit of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but
Yeah.
the conspiracy in with Timothy Dalton, who's just the embodiment of evil, including that's a great the interlocking stories in Hot Fuzz are fantastic too. The little village conspiracy is those people are awful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Well, one of the things that they talked about in some of the stuff that I saw was that if you go back to a small town,
oh,
you remember the small town, but it's become not what you remember. It becomes more franchised. And
oh
and you don't see the mom and pop stuff anymore, and that's kind of what they were aiming at here. They do a little bit of that in World's End as well, where
oh
all of the pubs have the same kind of signage graphics.
right,
This
right.
fake chalk looking sign they have on all of them on the way through, and that was on purpose to talk about, and also their network logo that's on that's in every one of the pubs they go to, which
Oh,
would indicate single ownership, which is kind of where everything is going these days.
Starbucksification of the pubs.
Yeah,
And there are two great speeches in that movie. And one speech is probably more than that, but one speech is when Simon Pegg's character goes up to the bartender and says, "Aren't you going to tell me about these different types of beers and what's the difference?" And it'll give you a taste of burnt coffee in your mouth, and the top of your tongue. That speech is, and the pub guy just says, "It's a beer." It's like, oh. And then the speech,
Oh,
and
the
of
two
course
pub
that.
guys, by the way, were
Oh,
cousins. They had not seen each other in years until they auditioned for this, and didn't know that they were auditioning for. So they actually were related. It's kind of like it makes me think about in The Quiet Man, where the director's brother was in all of his films, and they never talked to each other.
John Ford's. A lot of people didn't talk to John Ford, but they were in his
It's
films.
true.
That's exactly right. Wow, and so many, and there are a lot of twins. Because there's the in Hot Fuzz, you got two. Were there twins that ran when you come up to the police, or they run the evidence room?
Yeah.
Those two guys. Yeah, yeah. they see, and he doesn't see the difference between them. He said, "Your hair is different," you know. That's and then there's the Andes guys because it's because the two Steves, what the Stevie, no, what they call it, the Andes. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of twins in the films. Um, the we were talking. Oh, and one thing that got me too is you're thinking about certainly in Hot Fuzz, we're thinking about how horrible this village is and what they do with people, and yet all in the name of keeping the village perfect and clean. But there's one line in the World's End that kind of got me is like, and I wanted to check with you, what did we end up doing with? I guess it would have been the people that gave their DNA, like the character from The Hobbit, who
Yeah.
the friend, and well, what do you think we ended up doing with them? Did we put them in prisons afterwards after we took control, or in the kind of new, because there's one line that says, and it kind of showed that humanity could be bad too, and it
Yeah.
shows that character in like a narrow, like almost like a hallway outside, and people are just making fun of, as he walks along. It was, whoa, that film was, yeah, there's some.
Yeah. Well, none of them had really a happy ending. It was,
No.
I mean, I kind of liked the way that Shaun of the Dead ended, where he still has his, useless roommate, but he sits, he goes out in the shed with him and plays video games now instead of.
That
Oh, also,
was
that was the other thing. Video games played a part in Hot Fuzz as well, because early on they're playing, trying to decide which two video games are going to play, and the story follows the plots of both of those games.
no.
Yes.
That's, and I love the way the ending you referenced in the Shaun of the Dead, because you're getting player one has entered, player two, and all of a sudden you think he's coming to the shed maybe by himself to play a video game that says player two has entered, and nope, there's his friend. Yeah, all of them kind of have dystopic endings.
Yeah.
And the second one, yeah, Hot Fuzz is, you're almost sure that that Frost is gonna die.
Yeah.
And then it shows it's 1 year later, but there he is, and apparently okay. But even that ending, well, God, they end up blowing up somehow. Yeah, after they have the giant explosion, that's, yeah. Whoa. So
In
yeah,
World's End, when they apparently have destroyed the world, they did do quite a big fire in this lot where they were filming it on location, and there were a
right.
number of people that called up the fire department, thinking that there was actually something uncontrolled going on.
They blew some stuff up. How about
Yeah.
that house in Hot Fuzz? Was that because where they set the gas and the bacon, the guys, and then the house blows up, which they
Yeah.
considered, the village council considered that house to be a blight, an eyesore. It was
Mhm.
so. Was that a practical? Do you know, or was that
I do
a
not know. I do not know.
yeah? Because man, he can blow stuff up well. That was
Oh yeah.
wow. I did not go, but I had the chance to go behind the scenes that much. I did notice there, in terms of special features on the DVDs, one fun special feature was it made in 2001, and it was Simon Pegg standing beside Edgar Wright. And they said that apparently Edgar Wright, before he writes the script, he'll get one of those big, um we had a dean at a certain time that at meetings would like to get, it looks like a giant, what do they call the struggling with words here, the okay, here, these are called post-it notes, of course. And if you remember, there was a certain, a few, there were meetings that they were made giant post-it notes.
Oh yeah, those
uh,
wafer board, not wafer board. Yeah, it is that thick poster board. I forget what they
exactly.
call that. Yeah.
And it's bounded together on a ring, and so you flip from one page to the next,
Yeah.
and it's Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright. They had come up with ideas for the film. It's funny, I don't think if this film was, it should have been Shaun of the Dead, but there was, but anyway, ideas like all sorts of visual ideas, like those crash zooms, all those things you were saying with
Yeah.
arrows, almost looks like a graphic novel, a comic book with all the things they're going to do before they write the script, including, and I bet they did this for Hot Fuzz, including the most clueless of the guys in the police department. If you remember this shot, he's leaning against one of those giant post-it notes where they'd written ideas behind it, but the
Yeah.
ideas were like, it was like lack of loyalty, lack of decisiveness, can't think worth a darn, uh, almost something like moron. And so when they frame him sitting again, they frame him sitting against that big thing, and there's his head, and they're all pointing with those things to him, and those are all things that he is in the movie. He's the worst of the worst. Because even the detectives that didn't, oh, it's a murder, hey, she just tripped on her carpet, planting shears, you and your M word, those guys were awful. But finally, at some point, they did have some snap and could at least, that was amazing too. That was kind of like the scene with the aliens is basically where he deconstructed the his boss in
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz. What was it? I'm trying to remember the hierarchy. He's a sergeant, and these are all British cops.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
the
An inspector would be what we'd call a detective.
detective. So who's his boss in the who was really awful in Hot Fuzz? That was a good actor, and I'm just trying to think of the term for, because sergeant
Chief
was
inspector.
chief inspector. He's the big boss.
Yeah, that was Bill Nighy, who I was trying to think of earlier, who
Yeah.
was in Most Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Exactly. Which I confess I have not seen. That sounds like a great film.
That might be one that we can talk about. It was a very well. We'll talk about that later, but I think
got it.
that might be a film that we can talk about.
Yeah, I always think of Bill Nighy from Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
and yeah. But I mean, you could. It just made me want to kind of live in that universe for a while. These films are so rewatchable. You can go back and
Well,
just,
it's almost required rewatching because of the fact that it is so densely packed with references, with Chekhov's guns, with the everything from the names of the characters to the flavor of the ice cream has something to do with the plot of the film. And it's almost as if they wrote the film. It was probably what they did do. They wrote the film, and then they went to see how many of these things they could insert
and
to
yet the
foreshadow
stories don't
what's
fall
going to happen. Yeah.
right, and yet the stories don't fall apart. There's even a certain
No.
amount of poignancy to them. And you mentioned just the looking at the music, it's the same way. All those musical references are literally thrown out as records when they're trying to kill the zombies. I mean, he gets his record collection, and then all of those records.
Right. They're having to choose which ones that they throw because some of them are too good to throw out.
Just unreal.
Yeah.
I gotta say that I was introduced to I think I was introduced to the world of Edgar Wright with Baby Driver, which is one of my favorite films. That's and that one depends on musical references, and we're invited into these films in so many different ways. Like there's a dense musical world, a dense visual world, and the worlds that are so much you're invited. As I'm going to say, you're invited into the film. Builds itself with these worlds, with these little mini audio worlds or visual worlds, and of course, if you're a music lover, you're clinging onto that, and it's kind of like it makes that world so much more rich when you go into these films.
Yes,
man.
Well, I enjoy watching these films too. I mean, despite their complexity on another level, you can sit back and not focus on all of the devices and still enjoy it. Once again,
Absolutely.
Because of the way it is written, because it's a straight ahead, holds itself up story. The acting, of course, is just superb. Even though you see these same people in three different pictures, You don't say, well, wait a minute, he was like this in the other one. They embody their characterizations so very well, and they know how to handle comedy. I think the
Yes.
Brits can do this, where a lot of American films that are parodies, and this is a parody, but a rather low key one, or all three of these films are rather kind of low key parodies. Uh, uh, they're able to do it without mugging at the camera.
Right. They are who they are in the film. They're not mugging. That's a good point. And you get some of our, especially our larger stars, that can be really good actors, but there's an element of mugging there. That. And Olivia Colman is just playing who she is in the
Yes,
film. She's a great. Were there any? And it's the films are so dense. Were there
they are.
any alternative casting decisions that you came across?
Not that I know
In
of. I know that they did specifically want um, um, Timothy Dalton, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
delighted that they were able to get him to join their troupe, because his part was crucial. And there was uh, someone who, and I don't remember who it was now, that was not able to be in Shaun of the Dead, and so they wrote a specific part for him in Hot Fuzz. And I
But was
don't
not in.
know, I don't remember who that was.
And obviously like cameos, Kate Blanchett in a cameo.
Yeah,
uh
yeah, that's the thing. You take a great big name and you give them two lines. It's almost like once again, Bill Murray, if he's willing to be in the film, he'll do 2 minutes of film time and then be on his way.
and it'd be on his way. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
film's richer for it. That's
Yes.
and
Really
it
true.
does seem like you're admit it seems like these people really enjoyed working and it's hard work doing these. Oh,
Yeah.
the one other that's and there must be the take the shortcut. Don't you never taken the shortcut through the backyards? That was referenced from one film to the next. And I believe this is where I need to see Point Break again. That shortcut through the backyards, where it's just at least in two films, it's incredible, and it's coming by the world's end when he takes and of course Frost, the first thing he does is knock down the fence instead of go over the fence. That
Right.
happens.
All
Yeah,
three films there is a fence jump,
there's a
and
fence jump.
yeah, and one of them it's Frost that knocks down the fence. The other one that Peg does.
Peg
So
does.
yeah,
Yeah, just so references within themselves, references to other films, and yet it all holds together because we've seen
yes,
films. I was, to contrast with that, we've seen films where it does not hold together, or it just becomes a film completely of references, and there's not anything meaningful to hold on to there, like a good story.
yeah.
And these films just thread the needle perfectly
One
among.
thing they said was that as they were writing this, they went through Roger Ebert's book of movie cliches and tried to use as many of them as they could,
That is awesome.
which makes me want to find the book.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that should be so. It's funny. I'm trying to think of. I know some of those cliches are jump out at you while you're watching the film, but on the other hand, the films are so dense, you're hanging on for dear life
Yeah,
at some points,
it's true.
and that's what makes that rewatch so valuable to go back and catch the. And I still want to see Spaced again. It's Have you seen Spaced?
I'm not. I'm not.
It sounds like it's going to be. I was listening to a good podcast on this, Horror Virgins, and they were they mentioned that Spaced used to be incredibly hard to find, like Region 3 DVDs, but people
Yeah.
apparently it was that good, and then yeah, and people would get that. I don't know what Edgar Wright's done. I know he did one film in 2018 that also had Diana Rigg in it.
Yeah.
That was a really good film about the it'll come up with me. I mean, I'll come up with a term. It's a part of London that, which is so funny that in Hot Fuzz, London is seen as so strange they can't even say it. Oh, you come from London. But anyway, that's.
Yeah.
But oh God, such. I mean, I'm glad we watched all three.
Yeah, yeah,
We took on the mantle.
yes. Perhaps we will be a little more conservative next time in our.
Yeah.
But there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about this before we go away, and one of them is that my producer is saying rap.
What was it?
Yeah,
There she is.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is Jonesy. We named him after the cat who caused everybody to die in Alien, and he
When you
has the
see
same kind of
Jonesy,
personality.
that
He
reminds
would
me of
watch
one
you
of the
die and
most
not change expressions.
right. Say the last part again, Professor B.
He would watch you die without changing expressions.
That's true. And when you see Jonesy to take a phrase from Bad Guns 2, the bleep's getting real when you see Jonesy.
This is true. This is true.
I have not. That's a film. I've seen Point Break, but that the Bad Boys 2. That sounds. I have not seen that particular buddy cop film, but of course, and there they are later on in the store together, and those two DVDs, and that inspired.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you had a thought on the producer of the.
Well, there was one other aspect that I noticed, that all of these took place largely in bars or pubs.
Right, absolutely. The the pub is an absolute gathering place. You got the pub in Shaun of the Dead, where the girlfriend
Which was the
lives.
solution to all the problems. The solution to
Right.
all the problems. We're going to pick up this person, pick up that person, shoot the other guy, and then go to the pub and have a pint and wait for it to blow over.
And yeah, they were going to wait
that
out
was the solution to
the
everything.
zombies at the W.
The Winchester, yeah.
Wait out the zombies there. It's a prominent part in Hot Fuzz, and then of course the pub crawl. Yeah, it's a.
That was
huge
another
part.
thing. They were talking about the fellow, they called him Snake Hips or something like that.
Right.
And he wore the snake boots, and he was always surrounded by women. And then later in the film, he's surrounded by women zombies who are eating him.
Oh, that's right. God, it's just desserts.
Oh, also, that's another thing that they kind of pushed against the normal genres. The zombies were very slow.
That's true.
And some of the other zombie pictures, they're after you and you're having to run. And he said, dead people wouldn't have that much energy, is what they said. And therefore, they had the zombies go slow for that reason.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, beyond the comic angle of it, it certainly, once again, they're approaching it from so many different angles. It amazes me that it didn't take them years to write this.
Right. How do we want to approach even the speed of the zombies? And so they're going back to Night of the Living Dead, where they were pretty slow, and it took groups of them to, and there's that Vincent Price movie that's based on, it's based on a not a Heinlein. What is the name? Oh gosh. Oops, I shouldn't have ventured into this, but it also was an early zombie film with Vincent Price, really good film. And the author will hit me. It wasn't Heinlein, but anyway, but yeah, and because I was thinking when you mentioned the speed of the zombies and Night of the Living Dead, there's actually quite a few zombie movies before that, and I think it was slow. They were mainly slow based on they were dead people, like Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah. Well, they had limited studio space in Plan 9 from Outer Space. They couldn't walk too fast or they'd be out
No,
of the
they
set.
could not.
So
good point. And Tor is going to move as fast as Tor is going to move.
That's
Johnson.
true. That is true. That is true.
I was watching. I was watching for the get back to Plan 9. I was watching for when you watch Plan 9 and Tor's emerging from that little grave spot where 30 people could be in basically a little grave under there. How many people get in it? And Tor's emerging from there, but he's having trouble getting up. And so they show him struggling, and then a couple of production assistants, actually they're probably actors in Plan 9, they come along, and you see this in Ed Wood, they come along and help Tor out of the grave, and in one shot, but of course then they cut away.
Yeah.
It's because Tor's got to be able. So anyway, I don't know where it's slow moving zombies. Yep, that's where.
Right.
But I don't think Plan 9 is referenced in this trilogy, although it could be. I am not going to say it's not.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's not either, except I don't think there were any graveyard scenes in here. They
No.
were all pretty much out in the open. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Although I feels like there was a graveyard. Oh my goodness! How about the gore? The gore never bothered me at all. It's just I even watched the newspaper reporter, who's just a terrible reporter, but he does know the one secret, and so when they kill him, when that whatever it is comes down from the church from a mile high in the little village right into his neck. I did watch that a couple of times, but it's funny. It never struck me as just out. They're all rated R, but it's mainly for language. I just didn't. The gore didn't get me.
That's something we haven't touched on, especially in Shaun of the Dead. We can't quote any lines from it because I don't think there's any of them that don't have some.
That's exactly right. Can't even get into the Monty Python B for C substitution.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
But yeah, that's.
But I think that's about our time this time around. We recommend that you go and see this because we couldn't do it justice in an hour or 2 or 3 in order to get all the details in it. But if you want something, this would be the kind of movies to own, and they're all 3 on a single DVD now, and you can get it I guess fairly cheap, I hope. And
$8.
$8
Yeah.
$8
with special features,
with special features. You can't beat
Yeah.
that. But you don't want to buy a movie that you see once, you never want to see it again. I mean, you're giving up the ending. The ending really doesn't make much difference in these pictures. It has to do with the process and all of the intricacies that got you there, and so
put.
for that I think that it's well and good to have a copy so you can just watch it periodically and find something every time you see it different than what you saw before.
That's another line you just had that thought you just had that just is like these movies. The journey is the thing. It's not just the little tag at the end.
Yeah.
It's the journey, and that's what it's all about. And that's what these films, in their own strange way, are talking about. Your life's journey when you're 25, 29, you're in your 30s, 40s, and then thereon. Oh, Jonesy looks so. Jonesy could be watching something horrific right now, and you'd get that same expression. You're exactly right.
I think he's signaling that it's time to feed him.
He is. Yeah.
Either that or he's going to reprogram this entire video. So I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Professor O. It's always a great pleasure. And thank you. Next week we may be talking about the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, or we might be talking about a cat video. We'll let you know.
Until or Glenn then, or Glenda.
Yeah. Until then, don't go far.